Stephen Mead again, back with another Bullseye Guy podcast. Fortunate to have Mark with us on a podcast here for the book he's written called Growing Old Sucks. So not only are we going to learn about Mark and his background, which I've learned about and I'm excited for, we're also going to go through the book. And right before we started, I was joking with him. He was nice enough to send me a copy, which thank you again.
Sure.
And I read the book and I told him there was a lot of great information and one or two little chapters I skipped because I didn't want to think I was old.
Nobody wants to think that they're old. I mean,
which again, I think is why you probably wrote the book. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's jump in, Mark. Give us a little bit on background and history, and we'll move into where the book came from and the ideas and go from there.
Well, I've been a broadcaster for many years and I've interviewed 30,000 plus people over the last number of years. We won't go into how many, but for a long time, I've done radio, TV. The last 5 or 6 years, I've done a lot of web video work, and it keeps me alive and going. I learn about people. I learn about all kinds of people and the walks of life.
Yeah.
From the man on the street to political figures and health figures, and I mean entertainment. It's just a wide variety of people that I've talked to over the years, and that's really what I do. I talk for a living, if you will.
And I know that you've moved into health. You also have a passion around cooking. You said something interesting, though, so I'm going to ask you a different tangential question before we jump in, because I'm always fascinated as the Bullseye Guy targeting and being specific in names. Out of all those interviews, give me the top one or two that were the most fascinating or interesting, and why.
Sure. Actually, there's one that I haven't done yet, and I'm looking to that. That'd be Stephen Mead. And he'll be
hopefully.
Exactly. I can't do that. I'm asked that often. Who stands out? I've interviewed political figures, as I said, Mayor Bradley here in the LA area, Jerry Brown when he was running for governor, when he was governor. I've interviewed so many different people.
Let's approach it differently, because I know it's hard. I'm going to say an adjective and you just give me the first person that comes to mind.
Stephen, I'm sorry.
Most passionate. Who gave the most passionate interview?
Honey Bruce.
Interesting. Okay. Who gave you the most surprising? It wasn't what you were anticipating.
Our mutual friend, Maria Dorfner.
Really? Very cool.
Yes.
And who was the funniest?
I'll go to Stephen Mead again.
Now we're getting, you can tell you've been a broadcaster. You're sucking up.
So
I'll go on the show. We're good. We're good. So, all right. So from the broadcasting side then, Mark, what sort of led you into the health side, which I know is what you've got a podcast on, and it's health driven, which probably also led you to the book. Let's talk about the transition and the interest on the health opportunity.
I've always, in the last 35 years, I've always dabbled in some of the interviews that I've done in alternative health. I just interviewed Gabriel Cousins, Dr. Gabriel Cousins this week. He's a psychiatrist, wonderful man. And we figured I interviewed him over 30 years ago. He's 77 years old now and does 1,000 push-ups every morning.
Wow.
I mean, I don't think I could do 20. And it's amazing to me. And the way he does it, what he believes is it just blows me away. My point is that anytime somebody comes up with an answer, this week that we're doing this our conversation together, 2 companies have come up with vaccines for COVID.
Yeah.
I have one question I just want to ask. has the CEO of each company, Pfizer and Moderna, I think is the other one, have they taken the vaccine? Will they take the vaccine?
Yeah.
And not. Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to buy it or take it? I think Pfizer said they were going to make it available for free. I won't take it. I don't want to be the first guinea pig. I don't think there's been enough testing on it. So I'm always interested in different things. As much as I appreciate Dr. Fauci, I also think that we can build our immune system using supplements and exercise, meditation, all of those things making us whole and giving us a better fighting chance against COVID.
Yeah. It's interesting, Mark, because I watch a lot of that on the health side and political, and not to get political for a moment, but free is an operative term. It's free because we as the government, they actually, the government's buying the vaccine to distribute it for free. So it's the operative term there is free for us, but not really free. But you do bring up something interesting is the vaccine has this efficacy, they're saying, of over 90%.
Right.
But what hasn't come out, and I'd want your perspective on this is, and specifically this is COVID related, we've learned, not me, but you in the health industry, the comorbidity, the age, right? If you're older and you have underlying health conditions, you have a higher propensity, not of getting sick. Apparently a lot of people get sick, but that tragic side. I was curious on the vaccine trials, what the age and demographics and underlying morbidities and things were around that. And that, just to be clear, that wasn't me thinking that, that was actually Maria Dorfner who was mentioning, I wonder how they did vaccines. I was like, wow, I don't know.
Yeah. And part of my problem is big pharma. Do we believe them? You've seen the ads, Stephen, that are on every night on TV. If you have taken this drug, call us now because you might have cancer and get your money. One, the products are still being marketed and sold in in drugstores, which I don't get. Two, the side effects from these drugs are really, really bad. Yeah. So big pharma says, "Oh, it's safe. Take it. It's okay." I question it. Glyphosate, I always mispronounce that, which is what's in weed killer. Okay. And so, for years, the people who ran that company, and that asset has been sold to Bayer in Germany, but they've been saying, "Hey, it's safe. It doesn't cause cancer. It doesn't cause any problems. It's safe." And so journalists will pour a glass of it and say, "Here, why don't you drink some?"
Yeah.
And they refuse. Well, you just said it was safe.
Yeah, if they won't take it themselves. So, well, what, with your broadcasting background and things like that, what was your interest in health, and how did that come about, and what was your transition?
Well, I'm basically a host for hire. So if you want a host that talks about finances or entertainment or anything else, and I'm available. The way I got into health is kind of through the back door. The way Late Night Health started, that's my radio show and podcast, is that I had a health issue. My back went out. And after going to the chiropractor a few times, my wife insisted that I go to what she called a real doctor. And I went. The doctor spent 5 minutes with me and said, "You screwed up your back, and here's what I recommend." He offered me drugs. He offered me other kinds of drugs and also physical therapy. And the insurance company refused to pay for the physical therapy, saying, one, that I've already had PT. I'd never had it before. I'd had chiropractic treatment. And I got very upset and started looking at what to do to have the insurance company based in Woodland Hills, California. They have a blue emblem. You're supposed to smile at that. Thank you. They to reverse their claim. It turns out that there's a company that their only reason for existing is to refute claims, is to turn them down. They have a who does that, and I blew up. And then I started the show with a friend of mine, Daryl Wayne, the insane Daryl Wayne, and we decided to do a show that combined allopathic or traditional health with alternative health. And 400 plus episodes later, we're still cooking.
Wow. And so what then brought about the book? Because I see it over your shoulder, which, by the way, nice graphics. I like it.
Thank you.
And I did read it. And what was the impetus behind the book? What's your co-author? Like, give us some insights there, and let's talk a little bit about a few of the chapters.
Okay, you got it. I've had this idea for over 10 years. I started to write it 10 years ago. And then, life got in the way. And I didn't do anything. And I met Servet Hassan, and we became very good friends. And just casually speaking, she is a writer. She's an award-winning writer, and very funny. You'll have a kick with her if you want to interview her. I mean, she's hysterical. She's a cancer survivor, and we met at a group. We were talking, and I mentioned the idea, and she said, "Let's write it together." And she literally kicked me in my tush and got me to write the book. And we thought it would take us 4 months. I dragged my feet, life getting in the way again. And by the time we were finished in March, mid-March, COVID hit. So we delayed the release of the book until August, and the rest is history.
And so how long did it actually take you to write the book, and what was the most challenging part? Because I know a lot of people, think they can be a book author, and they don't understand how difficult it really is.
Oh, it's horrendous. It's lonely. I'm a people person. It's one of my problems with COVID is that I'm stuck here in my little studio, and I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm interviewing people like this. And so writing is lonely. You can't sit with somebody and write. One person can't say, "What about Goldilocks goes down the hall?" It doesn't work that way. One person writes, "Goldilocks goes down the hall," and the other one comes up with, "and opens a door."
Yeah.
Right? It's a back and forth. We each wrote different chapters. We previewed each other's chapter. And to really answer your question, the book was dedicated, my dedication was to my father, who died at a very young age. He was 57. And he didn't get a chance to see grandkids, to enjoy retirement, to enjoy life. He worked hard. And I miss him. It's been, over 35 years that he's been gone. I still miss him every day. And I think that and he had a love of life. And that's what Growing Old Sucks is about. It's aging with attitude. It's having a perspective that even though I'm old, I'm 98 years old, and I know I might look it, that I can learn. And if you can learn, you'll stay young until you die.
Wow. So that's interesting. So the premise, because I've heard a lot of things, not only from reading the book, but in general, it's keeping your mind active is a big part. Physical activity, even when you were talking about, push-ups and things like that. What within the book, when you started to write it, what was the information you wanted to transmit to other people, or what message did you really want to convey? Was it physical? Was it mental? Was it attitude? Like what did you sit down and say, this is what I want the message to be?
Well, I think that the message is that at any age, it's your time of life, whether you're 20 or 90, doesn't matter. You can't let things get in the way. Servette is a perfect example. When I met Servette, she had been off of chemo, I believe, for about 6 months. She it took them, I think, 4 or 5 months to diagnose her with stage 4 uterine cancer, and they went in and took everything out, and it was a hard recovery. But she just wasn't going to sit back and go, "Oh, poor me, pity me," yeah. And got up and did, and that's what I'm doing every day. I have friends. I have 2 friends. They're both the smartest and stupidest people I know. They're smart. They know politics. They know money. They know whatever their specialty is. But one of them sits and waits for the phone to ring for a job. The other one applies for jobs, but doesn't send a cover letter or just a resume, and doesn't try new things. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Try different things all the time, every day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to circle back to something you said earlier. I've joked about a different project we have is around trying to create kids as superheroes and having kids believe they can change the world. And it's an action. It's called 1X at a time. It's like, what action can you take? And I use health a lot. And I said, if I was a kid, I would start a program called PUPS, PUPS. And I would try and get 10 million people to do push-ups and sit-ups every day for how old they were. Which is kind of what you were talking about. If you were 8, if you started out doing 8 push-ups and sit-ups a day, or if you were 40 or 50 or 60 or 80, if you did something as simple as just an activity, it could change your health. It could change your physiology. So the aspect of growing old, I think, is part physical.
Sure.
And I want to talk about that. And then I also think it's part mental. And I joked with you about that, Mark. I read a book years ago from Deepak Chopra called Ageless Body, Timeless Mind.
Yep.
And people ask me, they're like, how old are you? And I'm like, I don't know. Well, because they think I'm being ageist. And I said, it's not that I worry about how old I am. I just don't think about it, because my theory is, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were? And I always say 33. And I asked you, and your answer was
25.
And why?
And because, basically, I don't feel any different than I did when I was 25. Are there some little nuances? Yes, there are. I'm hearing the fishing. Probably because of my early days in radio, we wore these big old headphones and cranked up the sound.
Sure.
Right. But other than that, and maybe 12 to 15 pounds in my tummy, which I need to get rid of, I feel the same.
Yeah. And that's what, as I was reading the book, that was sort of what I wanted to circle back to, Mark, is a lot of the aspect of thinking you're old is just the premise of thinking you're old. And so some of the chapters in there was more to me about the mentality of how you think about things that may be happening to you.
Absolutely. It's all mental, thoughts. They've proven, I think Deepak Chopra would agree with this, that thoughts are things.
Yes.
And if you believe, oh, poor me, you're going to be, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
But if you believe you can conquer the world, you can conquer the world. And, okay, if you're 5'6" and you want to play basketball, maybe you can't be on the team, but you could be in the front office. You could do marketing for a basketball team. You can be around basketball.
You can do a shoot around with the guys, even though they're twice as tall as you.
Absolutely, and they'd love it.
Yeah.
And I think that the mental part really controls the physical part. How many people do you know, Stephen, that sit on a couch? They come home from work, they sit on a couch, they have dinner, they go to bed. They go to work, they come home. Now they retire. They sit on the couch all day. They don't do anything.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to retire. I will always be active doing something. I always want to learn. In the last 7 or 8 years, I've learned how to edit video. I've learned how to shoot video. Now, I've been a producer for years, but I would hire a director, a producer, and let that. But with the changing times, I decided I needed to know how to shoot, how to edit, so that when I had a project and I brought in an editor, I said, no, 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 you can do it this way. It broadens what I provide to a client when I'm shooting a video, whether it's a commercial, whether it's for the web. I can offer something more to that client because I know what they're doing.
Let's talk about that for a moment, and then I'm going to circle back on some of the book stuff, because that's actually what you do as well. When you and I spoke, you've actually, do production. So companies that are looking for production, films, product, voiceover, that's still a big part of what you do to stay busy and as a profession.
Absolutely. Yeah. We do a variety of different kinds of video, from whiteboard videos to shoots in studios. And we just did I did a video and a still shoot within the last month or so, simultaneously. And we were all COVID covered, and we safe distanced throughout. It's what I do, and I think what my edge is a creative approach. Somebody said to me, well, why don't you just take the camera, shoot it, use your iPhone, and we'll be done. They make movies on iPhones. And I explained to them, sure they do, but they have 4 camera people who have operated expensive cameras. They've got lighting guys, they've got grips, they've got sound engineers, they have assistant directors, and sure, now they're going to shoot the movie on an iPhone.
Yeah, that's like, saying, oh, I'm an interview broadcaster, and you just show up and interview. The setup time, the prep,
yes,
to get the lighting right, the background, the angles, you're interviewing the president, whether it's the president of a country or a company. All of this prep time, entertainment's hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
But people see those, 90 seconds and think, oh, I could do that, it's easy. And I don't think they see behind the scenes of how much work it takes.
Well, one of the biggest problems that entrepreneurs have is that there are, as you know, a lot of do-it-yourself video. So a person has a company. He has a Rolls-Royce product and or service. He's charging top dollar for it. Why would he want to spend the time writing and producing a video, something he's never done or she's never done before, rather than hiring a professional? They've already hired a controller, they've hired an accountant, maybe they have a president, they have a board of directors. Why not hire a professional? And when they put it up on the internet and people go thumbs down, there's a reason.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I do a cooking video every Tuesday. We made at 5:00 Pacific, and we did a healthy version of a spinach salad this week. And the audio went out. I have very expensive microphones that work with the iPhone, but between Apple and Facebook, all of a sudden, the audio was poor. It's the number one reason people don't watch videos. Number one reason, poor audio. And so you need great audio. You need great video.
Interesting. And again, because of my background in sales, I have all of these phrases. And one of the phrases I learned a long time ago is a professional is expensive, but an amateur costs a fortune.
Absolutely. No.
And like you said, hiring that professional who knows how to do it, gets it done, even though it's more expensive, the amateur who does it poorly, the lighting's not right, the audio's not right, you pay for it more on the back end. And I think especially in video production and commercials and even presentations, when you're talking about sales, it's that front end that really has to cost you a little more, but it pays for itself in the long run.
And there are people who are videographers, and they come in, they have a camera. I just talked to somebody recently. They showed up first, they hired a videographer. Wasn't cheap, a couple of grand for a day. Two people showed up and they said, "What are we doing?" And the person said, "What do you mean, what are we doing?" There was no script. I mean, they were hired to take a camera and point it at something.
Yeah. Not come in and write scripts and do cutouts.
No, I've actually told people not to do a video if it wasn't right for what they were doing.
Yeah. Interesting. So here's what I'm going to wrap up with. The one thing I've learned about book authors is they usually have a second book in their mind.
Yes.
What's next?
Huh? What did you say?
I said book authors, I've learned usually when they get their first book out of the way, they already have a second book in their mind. They may not want to do it because it's painful, but they're like, well, it wasn't that bad. So for Mark Alyn, what's the next book? What's the next topic? What do you want to do next?
The next book is called Huh? Say, How to Live with the Hard of Hearing.
Is it really?
Absolutely.
Good, because I love the title.
People don't understand. Families don't understand. You know, you go into to a hearing aid dispensary. I bring down the average age by 30 years. People are in their late 70s and 80s before they get hearing aids, unless there's an outlying reason, an accident, children, high fevers. If you take Oxycontin, like a certain talk show host did, and he had a cochlear implant, you have to go to an audiologist. And I'm encouraging people to start young, because if you start young, your brain adjusts to it very quickly. I'm wearing hearing aids. I put them on at 7 a.m. I take them off at midnight, 7 days a week.
Wow.
I cannot be without. If I take a nap or I go to sleep, that's when they come out.
Fascinating. So I'm going to post up, Mark, go ahead.
Said, thank you, Signia USA.
Well, speaking of thank you, I want to thank you for the time, the insights, sharing the book. We'll put up the information for people to get a hold of you, not only on the book side, which is out on Amazon, but even the video production and things like that. I really want to be able to find some good people and send them your way, including us. We may end up doing our little wet rock environmental product I talked to you about, and we may have to circle back with you on that one.
Let's do it. I should say that if you want the book and you go to Amazon.com, type in Growing Old Sucks, will pop up, and the Kindle version is 99 cents. You can't beat it.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll put that up. You can see it over Mark's shoulder, like my bullseye. It's over his shoulder. Growing Old Sucks. So again, thank you, Mark. This is Stephen Mead, another Bullseye Guy podcast. Always enjoy it. I appreciate your time, Mark. I learned something. Thank you for the book, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stephen.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.